welcome to Christian Credit Counselor's Money Harvest Institute's Financial Education Series. My name is Susan, and this is session 2 of the 12 Secrets for Prosperity Thinking. Well, welcome back. Today, as always, we are going to help you to improve your decision-making skills on managing your money so that you can change your mind, change your finances, and change your life. Today we're going to focus on not only your mind, but on your actions and behavior and the outcomes that happen. And we're going to explore the first prosperity thinking principle. So now let's talk about where you learned and what you learned about money management. We probably learned about money from our parents or our family, perhaps from a religious organization, and from our peers, and of course from work. We learn a bit about money, don't we? So I'd like you to take a moment to think about what your first thoughts were about money and what your first experiences were. Did you experience or were you told that you didn't have enough money? Did you feel at all fearful, or did you experience any anger or sadness? Were you told to save a lot of money and that your family needed to save and then not spend it? Did you feel good about what you learned? And did you feel that money was being managed well? Many times we don't learn that. Many times we don't learn that. We know that those patterns and those thoughts that we learned as younger people influence how we manage our money today and the patterns of spending that we have. So the good news is that what we've learned, we can relearn. I also want to ask you to think about any fears that you might have about money, and then to begin to use the 12 prosperity thinking principles to help you through this. So let's talk about how we learn. We know that when we have this original thinking, and if you follow along with the diagram, we've learned this original way of thinking about money. And that thinking and the way that we think also gives us then emotions, the emotions that we have around money. And emotions are very motivating. And so we have an action. So we think, and then we feel something, we have an emotion, and then we have an action. And then from that action, we have an outcome. Now, if that outcome brings us happiness, then that's great. Everything's working well. And you're probably doing really well at managing your money. But if that outcome brings us stress and disharmony or conflict or pain in our lives, then eventually we know that we want to do something different. But generally, for most of us, we kind of do the same thing over and over again for a while. And it's a very unconscious path that we have. There is a saying that insanity is defined by when we keep doing the same thing over and over again and we expect different results. So when we start to use prosperity thinking, which is a new way of thinking, then we can experience a new emotion and then have a new action. There is a saying that nothing changes if nothing changes. So here's where we need to start that change. New thinking, new emotion, new action, and then hopefully some kind of a new outcome. So then we're reducing stress. Now there's a number of things that we need to do here. Number one is we need to be willing to make that change. And then curiosity comes in. Curiosity is a great trait. I suggest that you be curious about what people are doing that you feel are really successful with their money, and ask them. You might be surprised at what they tell you. Also, to have your money management as a definite purpose in your life, to do well, to have it as a priority. And then, of course, to be mindful. We talked about mindful in our first session. To be paying attention to how we're managing our money and the choices that we're making so we can learn a new way. And then this at this point in time needs to be a bit of a conscious decision making. There is an old wisdom that what we focus on expands. And we want our money to expand in our lives. So we need to focus on that expansion and prosperity thinking. When we do that, then we start to make more automatic choices. And we have new emotions, more automatic and healthier outcomes, and we're happier in our life. And then that becomes a new unconscious path. So therefore we know that when we change our minds, we can change our finances, and we can change our lives to be happier. Now let's talk about the first of the 12 prosperity thinking principles. Let's talk about principle number 1. And it states that I care about myself and my family and act responsibly with money. Of course, if I asked you, do you really care enough? Probably you would say, of course I do. But my question to you is do your actions really show that you care enough? What is it about caring, and how do we show that? We certainly have to care enough about ourselves to do well, and to care enough about our family. We need to be monitoring and again paying attention to our money flow. We can be tracking our flow of money and tracking our debts so that we know how much money and what our expenses are each month. And we need to set priorities of what we're going to spend and how we're going to spend. And we need to be dependable to ourselves and dependable to others. I want you to be a prosperity thinker. So I'm inviting you to say not only the affirmation and remember that first prosperity thinking principle, but also to repeat to yourself, I am a prosperity thinker. And in doing that, if you want to make sure that you're really getting it in your mind, why don't you just tap your mind a little bit and say, I am a prosperity thinker, and do that as many times as you can. I invite you to join me again on our next session to investigate the next 3 prosperity thinking principles. And until next time, begin to pay more attention to your thoughts and your choices, and to again repeat, I am a prosperity thinker. I hope you will join me again soon. Thank you and goodbye. If you'd like more information about Christian Credit Counselors and our prosperity thinking, or to receive our prosperity thinking mini poster, please contact us at 1-800-557-1985 and ask for education.